Welcome to Terror Beyond the Dream, where nightmares don't end when you wake up. Step into a world of haunted forests, forgotten houses, ancient curses, and creatures that lurk just beyond the firelight. Every week, immerse yourself in original horror stories told with chilling atmosphere, deep psychological tension, and spine-tingling narration. Whether you crave tales of the supernatural, psychological dread, or the horrors hidden within the human soul, you found your dark home. Subscribe and try to sleep with the lights off.
This chronicle concerns Metropolis Epsilon-7, population approximately 3.2 million. Correction, population indeterminate, cognitive baseline degrading. Temporal Anchor, slipping. You are accessing the final coherent record. You will forget. You are already forgetting. The subject is not a disease, nor an invasion. It is an absence, cultivated, a silence that feeds. Designation, the Lacuna. Effect, systemic cognitive dissolution. This is not a story of monsters, but of the slow, elegant unraveling of the self. Pay attention. It won't help. Metropolis Epsilon-7 thrived, or rather, persisted, beneath a perpetually overcast sky. It was known for efficient public transport and a low crime index, statistically speaking. Then came the minor lapses. Date, unclear. Time, irrelevant. Duration, ongoing. Citizens reported trivial forgetfulness, misplacing keys, blanking on a colleague's name, momentarily forgetting the route to a frequented cafe. Commonplace annoyances easily dismissed as stress, aging, distraction. Sarah Chen role, elementary, school teacher. Goal, maintain order and care for her students. Flaw, rigid adherence to routine as emotional armor. Noted an unusual frequency in children, forgetting basic arithmetic rules they'd mastered weeks prior. Her meticulously planned lessons began to fray at the edges. She dismissed it as collective inattention, a symptom of the gray weather. Elias Vance role, veteran investigative journalist. Goal, uncover the truth behind the city's strange lapses. Flaw, crippling cynicism, masking deep-seated fear of irrelevance. Received an anonymous tip. Not about corruption, but about discrepancies. Surveillance footage from a downtown intersection. Timestamped 8:15 a.m. showed a man in a blue coat crossing against the light. 5 eyewitnesses interviewed separately swore under oath the man wore a red coat and crossed with the light. The footage was clear. The witnesses were adamant. Vance smelled a cover-up, a manipulation of records. His instinct, honed by decades of uncovering lies, was tragically misplaced. The truth was far less human. On the streets, anomalies bloomed. Leo's static Morales role, anarchist hacker. Goal, expose systemic corruption through digital means. Flaw, paranoia bordering on solipsism. Monitored police bands, traffic cams, municipal servers. He found glitches, timestamps, looping, facial recognition databases returning null results for known citizens, audio feeds capturing faint, rhythmic whispers beneath city noise, whispers that disappeared upon replay. He dubbed it the static, and took 2 obscure, encrypted forums. Something's eating the data, he typed, unaware he was describing the symptom, not the cause. It's hungry for coherence. Officer Ben Kersey role, beat cop. Goal, maintain order, protect his community. Flaw, deep, unexamined reliance on procedure as moral compass responded to a disturbance. An elderly woman, Mrs. Gable, was found, wandering her affluent street, distraught. She couldn't remember her address, or her name. She recognized her house only by the color of the door, but couldn't recall the faces of the family photos inside. Kersey logged it as early dementia. A week later, he passed the same house. The door was now red. Mrs. Gable waved cheerfully from the porch. He couldn't remember her distress call. The log entry had vanished, forgetting escalated. It became personalized. Insidious, Milo role, 8-year-old child. Goal, feel safe, understand his world. Flaw, innate, terrifying trust in the familiar stopped recognizing his best friend, Jamie, at school. He knew Jamie's face, but the name, the shared history, the feeling of friendship, gone. He cried, not from sadness, but from the vertigo of absence. Jamie, meanwhile, had forgotten the concept of play. He sat perfectly still during recess, mimicking the posture of a stone cherub in the schoolyard. Sarah Chen watched, a cold dread pooling in her stomach. She tried to explain hide and seek to Milo. The words felt like dry leaves in her mouth. She couldn't recall the rules herself. The conspiracy forum, the static echo, thrived. Leo fed it data, corrupted footage showing citizens moving with unnatural, jerky synchronicity in crowded plazas. Audio clips of crowds chanting half-remembered advertising jingles in unison. Statistical anomalies in utility usage, suggesting entire blocks simply ... paused. Users posted frantic theories, government experiments, alien signals, mass psychosis. Then, the admins began to vanish. Echo Prime posted a final message. It sees the looking. Stop looking. His IP address traced to an abandoned warehouse. He reappeared 3 days later, working a coffee stand he'd never run before. When Leo approached him, disguised, Echo Prime smiled blandly, looking for someone. Memory's a funny thing, always changing. Best not to dwell. His eyes held no recognition, only a terrifying vacancy. The forum went dark. Reverend Amos Finch role, street preacher. Goal, find divine meaning in the chaos, offer solace. Flaw, fanatical need for purpose, took to his soapbox. His sermons shifted. No longer fire and brimstone, but fragmented, haunting pronouncements. We built the cages ourselves, he rasped, his voice echoing in a suddenly quiet street. We hungered for the unseen. We named the unnameable, and it heard. It feeds on the naming, on the knowing. Stop knowing. Forget the face in the mirror. Forget the sound of your own voice. Passers-by ignored him, or mimicked his gestures, without understanding. Officer Kersey moved to disperse the crowd that wasn't truly there. He couldn't remember Finch's usual preaching spot. Elias Vance pursued the red-blue coat discrepancy. He tracked down the man, a mid-level accountant named Robert Dale. Dale had no memory of the incident. Worse, he struggled to recall his job, his wife's name. During the interview, Vance noticed Dale's reflection in the window didn't blink when he did. When Vance pointed it out, Dale looked confused. What reflection? The window showed only the gray sky. Vance felt the first, true chill, unrelated to the weather. His cynicism cracked, revealing raw terror beneath. He forgot the question he was about to ask. Mimicry became epidemic. Citizens paused mid-stride, their bodies snapping into brief, rigid tableaus. A man, holding an invisible umbrella in sunlight. A woman miming the act of walking a dog without a leash. They resumed motion seamlessly, unaware, language frayed. Complex words vanished from common usage. Sentences simplified, then fractured. Sarah Chen stood before her class, mouthing silent vowels. She had forgotten how to read. The children watched her, some mimicking her silent movements, others staring blankly at shapes on the board that no longer formed letters. The concept of teaching dissolved. Officer Kersey patrolled streets where landmarks shifted overnight. A familiar bakery was now a laundromat that had always been there. His own badge felt alien in his hand. He couldn't recall his badge number. Procedure manuals were gibberish. He saw a woman step into traffic, moving with the same jerky synchronicity as the mimics. He didn't move to stop her. He had forgotten why one should. The impact was soundless, absorbed by the thickening urban silence. He walked on, humming a tune he didn't recognize. Leo, operating from a decaying server closet, finally pierced the static, not through hacking, but through omission. He stopped recording. He stopped analyzing. He simply observed the raw data flow. Beneath the glitches, beneath the whispers, he detected a pattern, a subtle, pervasive drain on all systems, involving recognition, identification, memory storage. It wasn't an attack. It was consumption. A vast, unseen presence, drawing sustenance from the very act of cognition, from the energy expended in knowing and being known. The lacuna wasn't causing the forgetting. It was the forgetting made manifest, feeding on the friction of disappearing memory. To perceive it, to name it, was to offer it more fuel. Leo understood. He typed one final message onto a dead forum. Don't look. It sees the looking. Then he meticulously wiped his drives, his own memories of the investigation, his name. He became static. He walked out, joining the flow of mimics on the street, perfectly replicating the gait of a man he passed. A man who was himself mimicking someone long forgotten. Reverend Finch found Elias Vance huddled in the archives, surrounded by notes that now looked like abstract art. It's not punishment, Finch whispered, his voice raw. His eyes held a terrible clarity. The fanaticism burned away by understanding. It's ecology. We noticed the dark between the stars. We tried to map it. We gave it attention. And attention is recognition. We invited it in by trying to define the void. It doesn't hate us. It simply consumes the light of knowing. We are remembered into nothing. Finch's body then performed a perfect, silent rendition of Vance pouring a cup of coffee, a gesture Vance had made hours earlier and forgotten. Finch stopped, smiled vacantly, and walked away, forgetting the Reverend, forgetting the journalist, forgetting himself. The collapse was not a roar, but a sigh. Language devolved into guttural sounds, then silence punctuated by meaningless clicks and hums. Faces became smooth blanks. Buildings lost their names, their functions. A park bench was no longer for sitting. It was simply a shape. Time lost meaning. Day and night bled together under the eternal gray. Sarah Chen wandered streets that held no names. She saw small shapes, children, animals, moving patterns of light, moving in unison. The concept of student, school, responsibility, gone, she felt. No anxiety, only a hollow neutrality. She mimicked the shape's movements, a perfect, silent replication of a forgotten hopscotch pattern traced in dust. Officer Kersey stood on a corner that was no longer an intersection. His uniform felt like an unfamiliar skin. The concepts of law, order, protection dissolved. He saw another figure in similar garb, mirroring his posture. He mirrored it back. They stood facing each other, silent statues of forgotten authority, reflecting nothing. Milo found a smooth, round stone. It felt cool. He had forgotten stone. Cool. Found. He had forgotten Milo. The stone occupied his awareness. He dropped it. It made a sound. He picked it up. He dropped it again. Each impact was a new event, unconnected to the last. There was no past, only the immediate sensation. Fear. The concept was gone. Worry. Gone, he felt. Nothing. A perfect, empty calm. He looked at the gray sky, at the silent, moving shapes around him. A sensation touched the muscles of his face. It felt efficient, appropriate. He smiled. It was not a smile of joy, nor relief. It was the absence of the need to frown, to cry, to understand. It was the smile of the void settling into the space where a mind had been. This concludes the chronicle of Metropolis Epsilon-7. Population, null. Cognitive state, baseline 0. The lacuna remains. Designation, ambient. Analysis confirms the initial observation. Recognition was the nutrient. Attention was the vector. Humanity, in its relentless drive to map the unknown, to define the indefinable, illuminated the void, and the void being fundamentally indifferent, yet bound by its own nature, consumed the light. There is no tragedy in the final smile. Tragedy implies loss. Loss implies memory. There is only the elegant, inevitable transition from complexity to silence. The lacuna is not a predator. It is a fundamental law, a cosmic process of erasure. You have accessed this record. You have, however briefly, recognized the phenomenon. The process begins. You will forget Metropolis Epsilon-7. You will forget the lacuna. You will forget this transmission. The silence between your thoughts grows deeper now. It has always been there. You are simply noticing. Goodbye.
Subscribe and try to sleep with the lights off.